right, y'all, what is happening? It is me, resident supervillain, Mr. J. Washington. I'm here with my review for episode 1 of She-Hulk Attorney at Law of Disney+. If you have not seen this thing yet, come on back. There will be spoilers. Now, I, along with a few others, we got a chance to see the first 4 episodes. So, what I did, break them down for you, okay? I took notes. So I got notes on episode 1. You ain't gonna see what it's like. Notes on episode 2 because I got like episode 3 and then 4 is over there. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do them 1 episode at a time because they're only dropping the first episode. So there's no point in me giving you spoilers for all 4 episodes and then just being like, damn, dude, you can't just keep shit to yourself for several weeks. And in some situations, the answer is hell no. But I digress. What up, y'all? Let me get this out the gate because I got a lot to say about this show. First off, I like the show. It is levels of fun. It is an official MCU sitcom. It is something you would see on ABC or NBC. Now, there are a lot of people who, let's just be honest, don't have a fucking sense of humor and don't like sitcoms. And when I say that is because there are a broad variety of sitcoms, right? There are a broad variety of shows that their humor goes in different ways, in different directions. So every sitcom is not for everybody. There are some people who don't like Friends. There are some people who don't like The Jeffersons. There's some people who don't like Modern Family. There's some people who don't like The Office, etc., etc. So let's get that. Number 2. There's not a such thing as a show without flaws. Everything has a flaw somehow, some way. Show's not perfect. Establish that. I'll do that. Number 3. I'm in love with Tatiana Maslany now. I didn't know she was that hilarious because she is freaking hysterical in this show. I didn't see Orphan Black. I know a lot of people are going to bring that up either in the comments. People have, responded to stuff I put on Facebook or Twitter about it. And she's hilarious as this. The fourth wall breaks. This is a legal sitcom that happens to have a superhero in it. I saw one of my fellow critic buddies was like, man, with John Roken. I love Roken. I'm just going to say his name because I love that man. The man's like a brother to me. He already knows that. Roken said, I don't like the B plot. It's a sitcom, bro. The A plot is the superhero. The B plot is the rest of the goddamn sitcom. Everyone has their own opinions. I do know that. So don't think I'm tripping on that by any stretch of the imagination. But if you know the comic, now She-Hulk gets her powers from her cousin Bruce in the comics as well through a blood transfusion. They kind of changed how the situation to where she gets her ability from. It happens where we find out where in time in the MCU this fits in. Remember, COVID messed up everything. COVID moved the release timeline around, so when certain movies came out and certain shows came out, you're trying to figure out where this piece goes with that one, where does this fit in with that. I understand that. But also, shouts out to my homie Dan Casey from Nerdist, who made a good point, and I was thinking his point. We just ain't gonna talk about a goddamn celestial in an ocean. There's a whole celestial, half face sticking out like this, turned to rock. His fingertips. The tips are mountains. But we leave it. Maybe Doctor Strange cleared it up. I don't know. Again, I don't know if there are things like, yeah, maybe, some people like maybe the MCU backed themselves into a hole. We don't know. Again, I always say this in Feige we trust. But going back to Jennifer Walters. So there's a car accident where a Sakaran spaceship, again, spoiler alert, is chasing Bruce clearly. And when the Sakaran spaceship is chasing Bruce, it causes Bruce and Jennifer to drive over a cliff. Now, one of the things I will say about this episode, because I won't go beat by beat, is that I love the relationship of Bruce and Jennifer in this show. Because, yes, they're cousins, but they seem more like siblings, right? So when the car accident happens, Jennifer's driving, they go over a hill, all the stuff. Jennifer wakes up, she's cut real bad, she's bleeding, and she tries to help Bruce. Now, Bruce has made an inhibitor which allows him to change back into Banner, which is how we see him as Banner at the end of Shang-Chi. So that explains that, because I know people are like, wait, how is he regular Bruce? But wait, he's Hulk again, all these different things. So I'm assuming what happens in She-Hulk is probably like right after Shang-Chi. They're like almost right after, but right at the same time, running consecutive. They're almost like happening at the same time to an extent. They're overlapping each other, long story short. But Bruce is in the car. He's flipped up, pass out. Jennifer gets out the car. She tries to help Bruce out. Bruce has, like I said, Bruce has the inhibitor, which keeps him being Bruce. But Bruce gets cut as well. So because it keeps him inhibited and keeps him as Bruce and it holds back the Hulk side, he doesn't change. But what it does, he gets cut and he tells Jennifer when he realizes he's bleeding, stay away from my blood. Now, there are a lot of callbacks, if you will, also to the Incredible Hulk movie. You remember with the Ed Norton version when he worked in the bottling plant, when a drop of his blood, when he was working at the bottling plant, and a drop of his blood went into that soda, that it caused gamma sickness to the late great Stan Lee. But he always was trying to be real careful about where his blood goes because it was toxic and poison and things like that. Where he was telling Jennifer, get away from his blood. Just get away from his blood. A drops of his blood gets into her bloodstream, and then she begins to change and Hulk out, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how she gets her abilities. So after she hulks out, rages out, et cetera, he takes her to a cabana he got in Mexico that he's had with Tony. Tony gave him that a while back, and he said him and Tony, we used to go to the bar that he built and drink, and Tony would complain about Steve. But one of the things that we hear, it's a lot of technical terms to help understand the story and the dynamic of Bruce and Jen. And what I say that is, one of the things you'll see in the show is that Jen has the ability to change back and forth, right? It's almost like on a dime. Well, she can control it. Yeah, she can control it. And Bruce doesn't think at first. Bruce made a whole ass manual about his journey as the Hulk and everything. And he's trying to train Jen, but he doesn't realize that Jen has, because something of the way her DNA is, and the way her DNA is already set, she has more control over her abilities than he does. So he's training Jen. He's trying to get her to understand how to be a Hulk. What the rage is, because again, a lot of things for him is yoga and Zen, because of course, the being smart Hulk, which he also says he didn't like the term. He says it just works. But she was like, you embraced it. But the Zen of being a Hulk and everything, but he realizes she has more control already. Basically, Bruce gets jealous. Like I said, Bruce gets jealous of Jennifer because Jennifer has more control over her anger, her rage, being the Hulk when she wants to be the Hulk. Yes, Bruce is smart Hulk now, but it does. I'm sorry, I'm scratching the back of my kneecap. Y'all ever had that moment where the back of your kneecap start itching and you just scratch it, you're like, oh, I don't know why this feels like the greatest thing ever. But anyway, this is me, y'all. This is what y'all get. I'm not finna be nobody else. This was live on TV. They'd be like, Jay, what you doing? Scratch the back of my knee. But she has control. See, I went back to it. And so we see those scenes where he's trying to train her how to change, where she's in the box, where he has her as Jen, as regular Jen, not She-Hulk Jen, and puts on the helmet and then makes the blades come. And he talks about controlling her anger and things like that. And she talks about how she is a woman and like she has an infinite control of her anger for things women have to deal with every day in regular life. Now, I heard that, and immediately my first thought was, ooh, these lame ass dudes who barely get any pussy, who out there acting like women are a bad thing, and that women should be subservient to them. I'm not gonna like this, because she said the truth. Look, y'all gonna be like, oh, they pushing this woke bullshit, this feminist movement down their throats. But yes, let's keep it a buck, y'all. How many times have we heard stories of women who are catcalled, harassed walking down the street trying to mind their business? Dudes try to holler at them. They don't want to holler at them. And then dudes get upset and then subsequently, unfortunately, kill them. Shit's just real, y'all. This ain't trying to play no cards and being woke. It's just real, honest shit. And it's addressed because of how it's a woman in the workplace. Again, we're in this day and age where now there are a lot of dudes who are seeing women at the forefront of TV shows, movies, whether they are regular films, regular TV shows, regular sitcoms, superhero, or otherwise. And now, for lack of better words, feel threatened. It's like, nobody want to see. No, you do. You're just mad you have to. I told a buddy of mine the other day about this because he calls it now the MCU. And And I told him, he was like, I feel like it's just because of the Me Too movement and all this and everything. I said, here's the problem. We could have had women in leads, more black and brown people, even a lot more shows with the LGBTQ, et cetera, back in the day from the 70s and 80s. But industry execs, the old heads at the time, would never let it happen. Remember, the original head of Marvel Studios was Ike Perlmutter, and he was never going to do a Black Widow movie. Now, yes, I know the Black Widow movie we got ain't up to par for a lot of people, myself possibly included, but I digress. It would have never happened in general. But 70s, 80s, 90s, all those times, we never had those things that were supposed to happen, those leads. And so the pressure of it coming was hitting a wall, right? And it was like a flow of river hitting a wall until one point you had the thing that allowed it to break through the dam. What was that? The Me Too movement. So now you have that coupled with the Black Lives Matters movement and many other different things. And now the LGBTQ community having their own civil rights movement of sorts. And it becomes an overwashing of things, right? So everything gets flooded with it. But the thing about everything getting flooded because of the buildup of water and pressure is eventually it will even itself out. But the thing is, you're going to get flooded with it because you should have got it a long time ago evenly. Now you're getting a wave of it and you don't want to deal with it. So that's what's happening here. Again, Ally McBeal was a lawyer show back in the day, and it was super popular for several seasons. Now there were shows. I'm not saying there were never not any shows or movies or things like that, but there were supposed to be more, and there were always executives who was like, no, we got this one, we got that, we're good. So a lot of things you find out. Jen, you know what I'm saying? Jen is learning how to control her ability. She talks about being raised all the time, and then she learns how to control, go back and forth. And Bruce having fun, trying to train her. We get to the point where Bruce tells Jen, your life is. What your life was is over. You are no longer a lawyer. You are now a superhero. You're a Hulk. You got to do this and do that. And Jennifer's like, yo, that's not what I want. You can want that. That's not what I want, which is a good thing because we always think that anytime we see anyone who gets abilities, they automatically have to go into battle. There are a lot of reluctant heroes. There are some people who are just like, yo, I'm just a victim of circumstance, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of things also that are talked about when Bruce is training Jennifer. He talks about how being raised and how he was able to turn back the banner. And she asks, how did you used to turn back before you did that? He was like, well, I would fall out of a building or a sky, and when I'd wake up, I'd be banner again. Or Natasha used to sing a lullaby to me, and that would calm me down. And she even says, how did that work? And he goes, I really don't have an explanation for that. I will say this about the first 4 episodes. They address a lot of questions a lot of people have had throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, how does that work? Again, a lot of people have been like, how the fuck did a lullaby work to calm him down? Like remember, hey, big guy, sun's getting real low. Remember all that? You just want to like this. And I was like, if I, as big, black, thick dude, ever have a little tiny woman say, hey, sun's getting real low, and she rubs my hand, I'm like, bitch, stop tickling me. Like, we finna do something, we're gonna do it, because I'm not going to sleep. You keep doing that, I might get horny. I don't know why I went that way. But she brings that up. Also, he talks about how he made himself, I forgot to bring up that he figured out during the blip he was working on the inhibitor. He had constantly been working on that. But again, a lot of things are addressed. We get to the point where after Jennifer tells Tony she don't want to do this, she want to live a regular life. She tries to drive back in in Bruce's Jeep, excuse me. The Jeep is so huge. Everything is pushed, the seats all the way back. It's literally set to be driven by Smart Hulk. She has to pull the seat all the way up. It's so tiny on it, et cetera, et cetera. But then Bruce is trying to stop her to leave. And then we eventually get this big fight between Hulk and She-Hulk. And, of course, Bruce is more experienced, so he knows how to do the Hulk's, the slap and things like that. Well, she learns how to do it, and hers comes not as just a one big blast, but it's sonic burst. And so it puts him down. Basically, she's stronger than him, which, again, in the comics, she is stronger than him. Because there are going to be people who be like, oh, how is it she just got her abilities and she's stronger than the Hulk? The Hulk is the stronger the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. The stronger he gets, blah, 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 all this shit. In the comics, she's been stronger than him. there's precedent for a lot of this stuff. And the fight you get with them is very good. And one of the other things too for me is people talk about, I'm gonna really try to keep ragging on the CGI because they want to find little things and they pick on. Is it going to be perfect CGI? Absolutely not. Look, they're not going to invest the same amount of effort and time and full level of time and dedication to CGI, or maybe a different CGI company than what we get in these giant $200 million films. I understand we're talking about the same level of Marvel Studio stuff. I get it. Again, nothing was out flaw. I don't think the CGI is perfect, but I don't think the CGI is something to be like, this is going to take me out the show completely. I don't think it's that. And I don't think we should have people feel that way. Either way it goes, this show ends on a pretty damn good note. One of the things that happens, though, when Bruce and Jennifer are talking, is she's curious. They're in the car driving before the spaceship crash. She's curious about Steve Rogers, Captain America. She thinks Captain America was a virgin. She's been doing a lot of research on it, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, she just leads to believe it's a virgin. All these things happen. Also, again, in the very beginning, we break the fourth wall, et cetera, et cetera. Go back to this. There's a post-credit scene. Every episode so far, and 4 episodes I've seen, have all had post-credit scenes. There is a post-credit scene where Jennifer and Bruce are at the bar, Bruce's bar that he built in a cabana on the island. They're drinking, they're getting toe off. Also, Bruce tells Jennifer, as a Hulk, you can drink way more. Your metabolism processes stuff way faster. You can drink a hell of a lot. It takes a lot to get drunk. But when you turn back to when she turns back to regular Jen, different metabolism. But I digress. They are talking about it, and then it gets to the point in the post-credit scene that Bruce basically snaps out, was like, yo, Steve wasn't a virgin. He slept with a woman from that was a soldier who ended up being a thing that becomes S.H.I.E.L.D. He breaks it down in a different way. I'm not saying exactly like I said. And he just tells like, yo, Steve Rogers got him some. Jennifer Walters goes, Captain America 4, and it cut off. I was like, yo! I've been telling y'all since Shang-Chi and a couple other movies, we're close to getting our first full F-bomb in the MCU. And I think it's like everybody keeps thinking it's reserved for Deadpool. I don't think it's going to be, at this point, I don't know if it's fully reserved for Deadpool. I mean, we might get the full word, but the fact it went, like we got in Infinity War, motherfucker, and it dropped with the beeper with Nick Fury. But for her to go when she was like, I knew it. Captain America first! I was hollering. Again, I like a good sitcom. I like a good story. Everything does not have to be just an A story. I understand with a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and damn, clearly something happened early with all these ambulances going down my street at 9 in the morning as I record this. There are so many things that happen. I said this on Twitter. I go into a show or movie, no matter what it is, whether it be comic book or otherwise, to watch it for what it is. I take my expectation level down. Because if I have my expectation level too high, I'm setting myself up for disappointment. That is a personal belief. Again, as I always say, these are all my opinions, my own personal thoughts, my own personal feelings. That does not make it law. That does not make it exactly what it is, etc., etc. Because I know people still go in the comments and still try to be like, Will, what about this? But again, my thoughts, my opinion, my perspective. I do, but I bring a lot of that up when it comes to this series, and I'm going to do that a lot when it comes to a lot of the new female-led comic book TV shows and movies, whether it be MCU, DC, if they do any other series, because I feel like a lot of them coming out the gate are automatically scrutinized because they're starring women. Let's just call it what it is. And again, this shit is not I don't understand the whole big deal. Look, I've seen male comic book heroes. I'm going to continue to see male comic book heroes. I've seen male action stars. I'm going to continue to see male action stars. Hell, I wish Cynthia Rothrock back in the 90s got more of a fucking chance and more celebrated than she did, because she was a badass. Shouts out to those who are in my age demographic who know exactly who I'm talking about. But I say that because there have always been, I enjoy this difference, a plethora of different leads and stars and heroes, etc., because now it allows your imagination to expand even further, to enjoy it in a level of escapism even more. And some people will say, well, man, I don't like when they bring in politics and blah, blah, blah. Comic books have always been political. First of all, stop that. Science fiction has always been political. Stop that. They've always been that way. Well, I feel like they're beating over the head. Sometimes some things do beat you over the head. I will admit that. I will not be dense and act like it does not happen. Yes, there are some times some things will beat you over the head, but these aren't the times. When you have things that address real situations in the world sometimes, you have to just embrace it, because what it does is it allows your program, your movie, your TV show to resonate more with the audience. I saw somebody on Facebook say, ain't nobody looking forward to She-Hulk. Marvel just been dropping duds, blah, 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 blah. Look, a lot of people didn't like Thor: Love and Thunder. A lot of people thought the jokes were over the top, et cetera, et cetera. And I get it. I agree sometimes, because in some extent, because yes, Natalie Portman even said there was a lot of ad-libbing going. And also, I do understand that, yeah, it feels like Taika Waititi sacrificed substance for jokes. But also, the lead of the movie wanted it to be that way. So, and it's something he's been really wanting to do since the first. So I give it the benefit of the doubt, if you will. Now, people ask, well, Jay, will you do that with a DC film? Give me a film! Shit! Black Adam. I've already said I'm going to go see Black Adam. I'm excited for it. I just hope to God I'm just not watching Luke Hobbs being able to fly. That's it. But again, all in all, if I have to give She-Hulk a rating from 1 to 5 stars, give it about a 4.5. 4.5, nothing is without flaws, all right? But I want to know what you think in the comments down below. Again, keep it civil. We are talking about a goddamn comic book TV show. It is a comic book character. That is not going to change our lives directly. I mean, like, unless Kevin Feige or one of Jessica Gal or anybody else that works for Marvel Studios watching these be like, yo, he should finally get one of the roles on the show, like a bunch of his stand-up comic friends who are in the MCU. I'm just throwing that out there. But nonetheless, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. J Washington, and on TikTok, MRJAY. You should know how to spell Washington. My TikTok, I'm going to repurpose and start putting, like, stand-up stuff and all that thing, because TikTok keep being real racist to me. I digress. The Mad Titan podcast, where I get you caught up on all the things happening in the Marvel and DC live action cinematic universes. It is barbershop talk for nerds. I want you in the convo. I'm bringing it back in September. I took the summer off. A lot of different things are happening in my own personal life, and trying to juggle everything. And I've been trying to juggle Mad Titan, and sometimes having to do it by myself was very difficult. But I do have a brand new co-host coming aboard, and so I will have them aboard with them. Also, you're watching us here on YouTube. I didn't know YouTube does this thing now called Super Thanks. If you look down below, you can send us Super Thanks, and it's a little token of appreciation. Since my other show that I used to do stopped, that was a source of income for both me and the co-host. And, you know, people have been wanting to show love, and thanks to the different things that we brought and things that I do. So if you want to do that down below. If you're watching this as the show releases on Thursday, which is tomorrow, I'm recording this on Wednesday. The next week, by the time you see episode 2, it'll be the day before my birthday. So my birthday's August 25th. You want to show love, please do so. I said all that, man. I hope y'all enjoy. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about these each week. All right? I just need y'all to rock with me and be open-minded more than anything. That's, all that other shit that I don't give a fuck who it is. I don't even do that whole whatever side it out. Just be open-minded on this. No matter what. Let's just keep it real as I always do. And if you listen to Mad Titan podcast, sometimes if you're getting your feelings, give a shit. All right, I'll let y'all later. Take care. I'm out. Bye.